Let's face it, the best Gunplar looping deck is cheaper than Mermail, it does it better than Mermail, and on top of that, it has more resources to do it than Mermail. But I wouldn't turn off the tap on this deck just yet. It does have some things that other decks just can't do, being able to summon one of the most powerful cards in this format and some of the most secretly underrated monsters from the extra deck to your side of the field to dominate your opponent. You can say that it gave me a torrent of ideas once we stopped thinking about trying to Gunplar our opponent for 5 or 6 with a Tri-Gate Wizard, because let's face it, while that is powerful, it's not consistent, it takes up a lot of your extra deck space, and Mermails can do a lot better. I'm TheCaliEffect, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, then go and destroy that subscribe button. But more importantly, go ahead and that notification bell, because, well, we just too strong. I also want to give a special thanks to every single one of my Patreons. Without you guys, videos like this would not be possible. Also, a mad shout out to our newest Patreon, Kyle Sanger. Welcome to the clan, boss. Make sure you add yourself to that Discord, as well as let us know that you are a Patreon so you can take advantage of those rewards. Without further ado, I present to you a competitive Mermail deck profile for this format. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, even if you guys decide to forego my advice, I think you're in the exact same position as this Mermail control variant. It's very best at a regional level setting, and the reason why I just wouldn't put it at a YCS level setting is because while it does have some really cool power, it just doesn't have enough power, possibly with the new Mermail link that will change. But until then, I would feel really comfortable taking this to a regional level event. Let's start off with the monsters so you guys can get acclimated to how this Mermail control variant plays, and I'm also going to be giving you guys not only budget options, but, you know, the opportunity to play the Gunplar loop if you guys still so choose. Starting off, we run 3 copies of Mermail Abyss Megalo. Now, this is a lightest Sekka build, so I run no target for Mermail Abyss for Mermail Abyss Megalo to search into. You guys could run the Abyss Sphere if you guys, or you should run the Abyss Sphere if you're running the Gunplar loop, but that's actually why this card isn't in the build. This deck can OTK your opponent without the extra deck because of this card. The ability to discard 2 water monsters is definitely needed. Sometimes you want to discard 2, sometimes you want to discard 1, but the combos with this card is insane. It's a level 7 monster, so rank 7's come into play. Hell, rank 8 and rank 9 monsters come into play because of this card, and it just provides so much utility for the deck. 3 copies of Mermail Abyssteus. Now, I really like Abyssteus because he does play a huge role into so many combos, but I didn't want my particular Mermail build to be stuck on just drawing Abyssteus and Dragoons. Now, you do lose a little bit of, I guess, flair in this side of this build if you do draw the Dragoons plus the Abyssteus, but you're going to be able to still make some really neat boards to shut down your opponent. Ultimately, it is great for fetching your level 4 or lower Mermails, which we do run quite a huge amount compared to other Mermail builds. That being, we run not 1, 2 copies of Mermail Abyss Spike. Through extreme testing, I figured that this is a 46 card deck. You do need a little more discard outlets than just 3 Megalo and 3 Abyssteus, and Mermail Abyss Spike is perfect. Not only does it allow you to search into one of the most powerful cards inside of this deck, but there's some really cool combos with this card that can get you free Boral Swords, free Saryujas to draw 4, and still pop off with more combos. It's insane what this card does for the deck. 1 copy of Mermail Abyss Mander. This guy is insane as well. He can make your level 7 into a level 8. He can make them into level 9. He can make your level 3s into level 4s. It is insane what this guy does for the deck. I really wanted to run 2, but we actually have ways to get into him if we don't draw him. Next is 2 copies of Mermail Abyss Gun. There are multiple combos with this card. One is with an Abyssteus combo. Basically, you can search it through Abyssteus and, you know, push forward for play so you can make those huge Exceed monsters. The other one is actually with Abyss Pike, and that's why I decided to bump this card up to 2. I was playtesting Abyss Dine and Abyss Lind. Abyss Lind I dropped out because I dropped the Sphere, and Abyss Dine just isn't as good as everybody thinks it is. And then lastly is 1 copy of Abyss Osha. Maybe they don't think that it's good, but Abyss Osha is amazing, and this deck is phenomenal. It turns a level 7 monster. It turns 2 monsters into 3 monsters, so it's a free summon sorceress if you need to, and it can just tutor so many important combos with this deck. I really do like what Abyss Osha does for the deck. That is it for the Mermails. For the Atlanteans, of course, 3 copies of Mermail Michael Jackson. 3 copies of Michael Jackson. What he does is that you can send a Sea Surfer monster or an Atlantean monster from your deck to your graveyard to add 1 from your hand. He also triggers by when he is tributed or discarded or used for cost to activate a water monster's effect. You can special summon an Atlantean monster. I'm pretty sure it's an Atlantean, not Sea Serpent. You can special summon 1 Atlantean monster from your graveyard to your side of the field. This card comes in handy a lot for being able to get into a lot of your combos. It sends Dragoons, with Dragoon searches more cards, and then he provides a resource on himself. 1 copy of Deep Sea Diva, because this guy is really important to get out, and Diva is used solely just to get him out to your side of the field. Sometimes you actually might need the Atlantean Heavy Infantry. What a lot of people do sleep on is that Heavy Infantry does allow you an additional normal summon, so you can summon him, summon the Diva to summon Prince, or you can just summon him to summon the Prince, and still pop off with a lot of your combos. Furthermore, if he's used to activate a water monster effect, you can destroy a face-up card on the field. What I really loved about Mermail Abyss Sphere, which I really want to go back to, is that Megalo searches the sphere, and all you have to do is have this in your hand. You can use the sphere to summon your Abyss Pike. Pike will discard the Atlantean Infantry for cost. Its effect will be negated, but you'll still be able to get a free destruction on your opponent's side of the field. Next is 3 copies of Big Daddy Atlantean Dragoons. Discarding this card for a monster effect allows you to search a Sea Serpent. Really good for popping off with your combos. That's it for the Atlanteans. We run a huge... Now, we don't really run a huge frog engine, but we run 3 copies of Swap Frog. This is to make Totally Awesome as fast as possible. It's also really good fodder, and what a lot of people don't seem to realize is that if you discard Gun with Swap Frog's effect, you can still gain Gun's effect, because Gun is one of the only Mermail monsters, if not the only Mermail monster, that says if it's discarded, you get to gain its effects. 1 copy of Ronnie Boy. Swap Frog twice will send Ronnie Boy and a Swap Frog target, which will get you a free Totally Awesome. And then Dupe Frog. I think this card is really powerful inside of this deck because it allows you to be special summon it off of Totally Awesome, and then it can get you a free resource, a water monster, from your deck to your hand, and it forces your opponent to attack into him first. So it's really powerful inside of this deck. We followed up with 3 copies of Genex Undyne. When I was playtesting this deck, going against Thunder Dragon, it was a real drag because the opponent summons Thunder Dragon Colossus and I can't destroy it. But Genex Undyne serves multiple purposes. First of all, it's a great starter card. Secondly, it gives me access to an out to Thunder Dragon Colossus all by itself, which could be game enders. And then fourthly, it's just a search target through Abyss Pike. It's a really great card. 1 copy of Kristan Rosenex. That should be a given with the Genex Undyne engine, and 1 copy of Genex Controller, a card that you use to activate Genex Undyne's effect. Now, I know you guys are probably thinking, you can only activate Undyne's effect once. Well, more than likely, you only need it once. That's it for the Undyne engine. We run 3 copies of Nimble Angler for the Angler engine. When this card is sent from the field or deck, or hand from the deck to the graveyard, he gives you extension 4 days. It's really just a combo extender. I wanted to run 2 copies of Nimble Sunfish. I wanted to drop Infantry to 1 and run 2 Sunfish, because if you draw this card, it is completely dead. Unless you play 2. If you play 2, you can summon 1, crash into your opponent's monster, use that monster's ability to send Angler to the graveyard, and Angler can also summon 2 more monsters to your side of the field. You can also summon it to your opponent's side of the field with Summon Sorceress, so that would have been pretty cool to do, but I just decided against it just for room. I'm still undecided if I want to drop that Infantry for the Sunfish, because that combo is still pretty nice. 2 copies of Beaver. This guy will summon a monster from your graveyard or your deck to your side of the field. I thought that was really powerful. It's a name for Nimble, or for Sunfish, or for Angler, my apologies. It's a really good card. You really want to summon it with Angler, but this time around in this specific deck, you can resolve Angler's effect twice and get 3 monsters. I want to resolve it twice and get 4 monsters, but again, still undecided. 1 copy of Aqua Spirit, just an extender. 1 copy of Molen Glacia. This is our built-in Gumblar. To be honest with you guys, the way that you play this deck, if you can Molen Glacia them, as well as make 2 disruptions, is almost just as good as Gumblaring them, so it doesn't really matter. Nightmare Corruptor Ibli, because Mermaid is just insane in this deck. Being able to activate her effect will trigger any of your water monsters effects, like your Atlanteans, your Sun, or your Nimble monsters. It's just really good. And then, to top it off, 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. I felt that this was the most optimal hand trap between all of them. For the people that can't afford Ash Blossom, just run Effect Veilers. It's like, it really doesn't matter. I just decided to run 3 of 1 hand trap. I probably would run Effect Veilers over Ash Blossom depending on the format, and mainly because if my opponent starts Gumblar looping me, Effect Veiler is a lot better than Ash Blossom, and it also stops E-Soul, so that's good too. Lastly is 3 copies of Sekka's Light. This is a Sekka's Light build, but I do have options for you guys if you don't like Second Light. The reason why I liked it is because it allowed me to draw 2 cards, and the reason why this deck is 46 cards is because there's cards you just don't want to open, you don't want to see, you don't want to have in your hand, and you know, Second Light allows you to put those cards back into your deck. So for the people that were really hell-bent on the live duel, in this particular build, Amber did run 3 Called by the Grave. I felt that this was essential in Mermails to stop your opponents from stopping you from popping off, so she did run those. One Abyss Scale, I mean, if you're gonna run spells and traps now, Abyss Scale is really good for, you know, making your Megalo 3200. It opens up so many OTKs. She ran a Monster Reborn, which was an extender 1-for-1, because now since you're running spells, you can get to your prints a little faster. Scoop Charge, because that was just scooping, and Abyss Sphere because the lend was really important. Feel free to play these cards if you don't like the Second Light build, and trust me, 46 to 48 cards is really good for a Mermail deck. You don't want to have 40 because you don't want to start drawing cards that you don't want to see. That is it for the main board. For the extra deck, we run 1 copy of Saryuja Skull Dread. I felt that this was one of the better Link 4s because he can be summoned with only 2 monsters, which has 3 arrows pointing down. That became up really useful a lot of times, and you can gain effects from him that are just really powerful if you decide to use multiple monsters. It's just a great card to have in your arsenal with this deck, and it allows you to recycle hands in case you have a dead hand or a sort of dead hand and you want to dig deeper into your deck. World Sword Dragon is the hard hitter, the go-getter. This card is insane. If you guys can't afford it, Borlow Dragon, any Link 4 will work, but Boral Sword Dragon basically ensures that you don't have to run the Mizushi to OTK your opponent. I ran Nightmare Unicorn as a last second thing. I really wanted another Link 3 monster. Nightmare Cerberus just didn't feel amazing in this deck, so I went with Unicorn. Summon Sorceress. This card is nutty for the deck, especially Raprodicus. Raprodicus will get you into your Summon Sorceress. Again, there are times where you want to Summon Sorceress and give your opponent the Lend, or give your opponent Nimble Sunfish, and that'll just allow you to pop off with your combos. 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix is the only Nightmare monster that I run that is a Link 2, so be in mind if you guys want to run that Cerberus, just drop the Unicorn for it if you feel more comfortable that way. But I thought that this was not only back row disruption, but it allowed me to go into the Mermaid. So everything I try to make have 2 different roles for this deck. Next is Mastar Boy. This card's just a really good generic Link for the Mermail strategy, allowing you to get those 2 arrows pointed down. And some worse hands, you make Mastar Boy Abyss Dweller, which Abyss Dweller is 2700 attack. Mastar Boy is 2400 attack, so your opponent could have some problems dealing with that. Nightmare Mermaid, this card is the star of the show. It was a late addition, which helped the deck just so much because it's basically an extender that allows you to get some of those monster effects in your hand so it can extend your combos. And on top of that, it can summon Ibli to your side of the field. It basically turns your Link 2 investment back into a 2 monster board for you to make Saryuja. Link Spider is part of the Gen X Undying combo to get rid of your opponent's Thunder Dragon Colossus. We run 1 copy of True King of All Calamities. If you can put 2 level 7 monsters on the board, you use the Abyss Mander to make them 9, you make Calamities, you're probably gonna win that game right there. Divine Dragonite Felgrand over Hope Harbinger. I think monster effects are a little more important in this format than negating an opponent's spell or trap card, so I decided to go with Felgrand itself, and he can make himself unaffected, which is kind of a problem for a lot of decks. 1 copy of Mermail Abyss Giles. This is a out 2 Thunder Dragon opponents. You summon this guy, they can't attack with their huge monsters, and you can make anything under him. I'm sorry, you can negate the effects of all your opponent's monsters that are under him. So he is a problem for a lot of decks, especially if you can boost him up with a Mastar Boy and Abyss Dweller. He becomes 3800. Really not much your opponent can do with that. Of course, the 1 copy of Abyss Dweller, this is actually the main reason why I decided to build the deck, because Abyss Dweller is so powerful in this format. It stops prank kids, it stops Danger, Warrior, Dark Warrior, whatever. It stops just so many great decks. Burning Abyss, 1 copy of Totally Awesome. I wanted to run 2, but I didn't have room. And then this is actually another out to the Thunder Dragon. So your opponent has triple Colossus, you summon Undyne. I'll just show you the combo later, but this guy is not only will trigger your water monster's effects, but will get rid of your opponent's thunder resources or whatever board that they so happen to have on their field. That's it for the extra deck. Some other options that you guys could have is Nightmare Cerberus. I already talked about it. Drop the Unicorn for it if you don't feel comfortable with just running Phoenix and turning that into an Ibli. or a Mermaid. Another totally awesome and Bahamut Shark. I actually really wanted to run this, but Bahamut Shark is just such a clunky card in this deck. It doesn't have any real combos, and he kind of just sits there. Then you want to get rid of him, and you need to play another link to get rid of him in whatever monster that you summon. I just did not like Bahamut Shark, but I would, if I could fit these guys in, play them. But let me show you guys some insane combos so I can get you guys out of here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this combo can go so many different ways depending on how you want to do it. It is insane, and it's the reason why I actually decided to bump Mermail Abyss Pike up to 2. If it didn't have the once per turn clause, it would be a lot higher. Now, this little small combo is going to require Pike, Angler, and Atlantean Dragoons in your hand. A lot of times, if you guys have played Mermail, you guys would see this and be like, oh, this is a terrible hand. I didn't draw Teus, I didn't draw whatever. But in actuality, this is actually a really good hand that can lead you into basically whatever you want. What you're going to do first is normal summon your Mermail Abyss Pike using its effect, discarding Nimble Angler from your hand to your graveyard to add from your deck to your hand Mermail Abyss Gun. Trigger your effect of your Nimble Angler to special summon Nimble Beaver to your side of the field, and to also special summon a Nimble Sunfish. You can do so many different things for here. You can go directly into a Summon Sorceress if you guys wanted to, but we're going to assume it's our opponent's turn and we want to make a really big play. I'm going to use Pike and the Nimble Beaver for a link summon to either special summon our Nightmare Phoenix or our Nightmare Cerberus to our side of the field, depending on whatever we decided to play. Using Nightmare Phoenix's effect to discard Mermail Abyss Gun from our hand to the graveyard to destroy an opponent's spell or trap card. Triggering our effect of Mermail Gun, we're going to go ahead and special summon Abyss Pike back to our side of the field, but not to where a Summon Sorceress could point to. So none of these zones, or I mean, I guess you could put it on the far left zone or the far right zone, but don't put it in the middle zone. From there, we're going to use Nightmare Phoenix for another link into our Nightmare Mermaid, and then use the ability of Nightmare Mermaid pinching the Atlantean Dragoons to add from our two special summon the Nightmare Corruptor Ibly. The Ibly doesn't really matter where you put it. That's going to trigger the effect of our Atlantean Dragoons to add Molinglacia from our deck to our hand, and then we're going to use both the Mermaid and the Ibly for another link summon into Reproticus. Now, this is a little bit of an extended combo, but as you guys can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 water monsters in our graveyard, so we're going to need to special summon Molinglacia to a zone where Summon Sorceress points to. Rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand. Use Reproticus, turning Nimble Sunfish into a dinosaur monster, and then link both of those monsters off for Summon Sorceress. Summon Sorceress targets Molinglacia, special summons an Atlantean Dragoon to your side of the field, and then you can use those two monsters for the summon of an Abyss Dweller. Just one of the reasons why I didn't want to run Totally Awesome is because you kind of need this to point to something, but this is actually a really good combo. Depending on whatever else you have in your hand, you can detach the Atlantean Dragoons for a free search and then just pop off from there. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so a lot of people have probably been asking, how do you get rid of Thunder Dragon Colossus? This deck's probably worst enemy. The only thing you need is Gen X Controller, and then cards to discard from your hand to get rid of as many Colossus. What you're going to do is normal summon the Gen X Undyne, or not Gen X Controller, Gen X Undyne, sending from your deck to your graveyard Gen X Rosenex, or why I call it Gen X Rosenex, Crystron Rosenex. It might as well be a Gen X monster. It's the only thing that it's played in. To add the Gen X Controller from your deck to your hand, banish the Rosenex to special summon a token to your side of the field, and then use that token for a link summon into your Link Splooter. Using Link Spider's effect, you can special summon a Gen X Controller and then these two monsters for a Synchro summon into the card that you guys probably never really understood why it was in my extra deck until right now. You can summon Brionic the Dragon of Ice Barrier and rid your opponent's entire board off of a 1-card combo. Depending on what other monsters you have in your hand, you can extend this combo obviously to your advantage because Brionic will trigger the effects of your water monsters. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so while your, Abyss Teus Dragoons combo isn't as valuable as the other builds, I'm not going to show you guys the Gumblar combo. Literally, you can just type in Mermail Gumblar for 6. Everybody has that combo. But this combo is a 3.5 card combo. It actually is going to get you a win as well. And I think it's a little more consistent because even if you don't draw these 3 cards, you're not just stuck on an island using some other variation or some weaker combo. You still can pop off with some really, really strong combos. So in this variant of the combo, I'm going to need Mermail Abyss Mander, Abyss Teus, and an Atlantean Dragoons. There probably is some other ways to do this combo with less cards, but right now I just can't think of any right now, seeing that this is probably a newer rendition of of the deck, we're going to go ahead and use Abyss effect, discarding the Atlantean Dragoons to summon itself to a side of the field. Dragoons is going to go ahead and add Deep Sea Diva, while the Mermail Abyss is going to add Mermail Abyss Gun, similar to the normal combo. You're going to go ahead and normal summon your Deep Sea Diva to where where Prodicus can point to, using its ability to special summon your Atlantean Neptibus. Now, either of these could be to where Prodicus points to. Just make sure you have a monster to where the Prodicus can point to. Use your Neptibus to send Dragoons to add Dragoons, and Dragoons effect to add Mermail Abyss Megalo from your deck to your hand. Then you're going to use Deep Sea Diva and Abyss or Neptibus and Abyss, it does not matter, sending them to the graveyard to summon Prodicus to your side of the field. You're going to use the effect of Mermail Abyss Megalo, pitching both the Atlantean Dragoons and the Abyss Gun to special summon Megalo to your side of the field, and then trigger the ability of both your Dragoons and your Gun, special summoning the Teus back to your side of the field. Well, that would be in the far corner. Summoning the Teus back to your side of the field and adding the Molinglacia from your deck to your hand. This actually has to go where Summon Sorceress needs to point to. I'm going to put it in the middle just for a little bit of ease. I'm then going to special summon the Molinglacia to the furthest most side, and now I'm going to discard 2 cards from my opponent's hand. Where Prodicus is going to turn Atlantean Prince Nephthys to a dinosaur monster, and we're going to use both of those monsters for a link summon to special summon Summon Sorceress. Summon Sorceress is going to target the Mermail Abyss Mander to special summon the Swap Frog to my side of the field. Now, the best thing that I like about Swap Frog is that its return effect is cost. So while it is negated by the effects of Summon Sorceress, you can still activate it, target himself, and return him to the hand, and continue on with your merry combo. Use Swap Frog to send the Abyss Mander from your hand to the graveyard to special summon Swap Frog back to your side of the field, sending a Ronnie Boy from your deck to your graveyard. Now, if you just so happened, well, actually, no, it doesn't even matter. From there, you guys have multiple options. What I like to do is to banish the Abyss Mander, turning both my Megalo and my Abyss into level 9s, and now I can use them for an Exceed summon into True King of All Calamities, which basically turns off my opponent's entire Yu-Gi-Oh wing. But you guys could also turn one of them into a level 8, and then cover the Molinglacia if you're scared that your opponent is going to try to get rid of that. In this rendition, I'm actually going to have any other water monster in my hand, so I'm going to use Swap Frog to return to my hand, make the Calamities, pitch the extra water monster, summon Swap Frog again, using its ability to send another frog monster, not Dupe Frog, to the graveyard. And now I can activate the effects of my Ronnie Boy, banishing the Swap Frog to special summon the Ronin Tonin, and then using both of these monsters for another Exceed summon into Totally Awesome. My opponent's turn, I'm going to use the ability of Totally Awesome to special summon Dupe Frog to my side of the field, and now my opponent can't run over any of my monsters without attacking the Dupe Frog first. If you ask me, this combo is going to win the game anyways. Your opponent can activate monster effects, you can negate their spell and trap cards, and you have enough to literally just slam their face in for game the following turn. Thank you guys so much for watching another segment of the TheCaliEffect. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a like, and if you didn't, let us know down below in the comment section what we could do to be better. Please like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy. I hope you guys are having a great day like I am.